Hi everybody, welcome to my channel and to Nora's channel. Welcome Nora,
Ta-da!
you're
Hey!
here. It's almost like you were
Yes.
live just a few moments ago on Aaron's channel.
What?
You're everywhere.
I'm everywhere.
Are you sure you're not AI?
I might be. I
Oh
might be at
no.
this point. Yeah.
How are you
My
doing,
kids would be
Nora?
freaked out.
Oh yeah.
I'm good. I'm good today. It's Saturday. So yeah. It's hot today. It's hot
Is it?
here. We're in the 90s. Yeah. Ugh. So,
Wow.
but yeah, no, it's lovely. It's a beautiful day. So yeah.
I'm sure it's always a better day over there than in London because it's always rainy and horrible here.
Well, it's Oregon, so we're like a sister country. It's
Okay.
it's usually rainy and gloomy here, but not today. We're hot and toasty. We're pretending we're California, I guess. I don't know.
The sun is shining and the SPs are out.
That's right.
We're out to
That's right.
play.
Sun's out, guns out. And it's
Yeah.
just the palest people in the world with like tank tops on, so everyone's blinded. Yeah, it's not a good combo.
That's like me. I'm very ginger and very pale, very Scottish heritage, and
It's,
I do not do
yeah.
well in the sun.
No, there's a lot of your twins here just roaming around,
Oh, I bet.
whites with yeah. Yeah, it's very
I
bright.
bet. But before we go down that rabbit hole, thank you for coming online today and welcome and hello to
Absolutely.
everyone in the chat. I thought it would be good to bring you on because obviously I dropped the documentary I've been working on
Yes, thank you.
earlier in the week, and then I dropped the interview in full that I did with you the other day. So I thought let's get you on for a Q&A. So anyone who wants to ask questions, throw them in the chat and we'll go through them. But
And I
firstly,
do
thank you for taking
apologize for the
part.
light in my eyes. I was just got my brand new light. I was so excited about it, and I did not know where to place it at the time. So I apologies, everyone,
I
for the
thought it
light
was
in my
fine.
eyes.
I didn't notice it until
It
someone
looked like I
mentioned
was
it
on
to
a
me.
spaceship or something. Aliens
Well,
had abducted me. But
appropriate.
yes, sure, yes, yes.
But thank you for taking part in it, and just a bit of backstory for those of you who haven't seen. I released this documentary called The Second Dynamic, and it's all about Scientology's track record on LGBTQ plus rights and trying to tell a story that maybe hasn't had much attention on it. And so I interviewed Kate Bornstein and Claire Headley, Aaron Smith
Yes.
Evan, and yourself. You were actually the key main part focus of the
Oh,
video. So thank you for doing that.
I appreciate that. No, it was I thought you did a really good job. I really appreciate you putting in all that time and effort. It was very, very well done. Kate is just I love her so I love, such a pioneer on so many, not just Scientologically, speaking out against the cult and everything they've done on that for the past, 40 years, but in gender, for the trans community, for the LGBTQIA community, but just, as a human being, Kate is just, you know, just
Yeah.
amazing sauce. So,
I
yeah.
was when I first came up with the idea of doing this, the documentary, I was like, okay, I need to get Kate on. Like, that is the one person I really want to speak to. And it was hard. I did a lot of work. I mean, I've been
He's very
working on this
busy.
for several months. Yeah, and also just someone that I've never spoken to or met or anything. So with your help, with a couple other people's help, I was able to secure an interview. And we talked before we recorded quite a lot about not just Scientology, but the whole idea of, binary choices and gender. And
Mhm.
it was honestly, Kate is one of the most loveliest and intelligent
Yeah.
and kindest people I've ever spoken to.
One of the smartest people on the planet. Like, honestly, I could talk to them just about anything
Yeah.
all day, every day. They're just so smart and so generous, with their knowledge and their love, which is, why I really hope that their daughter, Jessica, um, can somehow get that message from them of love and wish for reconnection and, at some point, some form of even a momentary reconnection can happen for Kate because it's just, that pains me. That
Yeah.
pains me just knowing what a kind, um, person is, and whatever they think of Kate as their father and all of that, and it would be, understandably, um, having to process all that as a person, um, it's it's a journey, you know, as a parent of a child who's non-binary and has decided to change their name and all these other things. I understand that journey. It is difficult on the opposite end, right? Um, I've had painful conversations with my kid about that. Even as like the gay, and I'm like waving the flag and all these things. We have arguments about things like that I'm not, cool. I'm sorry, I'm just a boring old cisgendered lesbian. I'm just lame. Like I'm not enough stripes of the rainbow. Like, but I accept the whole rainbow. But it's just, it's hard also as a parent. Um, to have, and we had the discussion, like, I spent a lot of time when I was growing you in my uterus to come up with this name that I wanted for you and that I gave to you and it was important to me. And now you're just putting it in the trash like it's, you wiped your butt with it and threw it away. And we went through that and we battled it out and now we're at a moment of acceptance. And, I've also spent a lot of years trying to understand gender fluidity and generational viewpoints about it and stuff. And there are, definite different things to dissect and dissect my own trauma and other things and other stuff because it's all layers. It's all different layers. And this generation, you know, has advantages that, like Kate talks about it too, like that, Kate didn't walk into that with like, you know, there was no things that just were like, okay, here's all the stuff. I mean, Kate was like paving the road for me, for all these other generations to be able to walk down it. I mean, there wasn't even a pathway. Kate had to like get out there with a machete and like, cut things down and mow it out and like, get a steamroller and like, and all these things. So it's just um we all have to deal with all the things. Unfortunately, for me personally, my own personal biases come loaded with the cult and additionally educational, it's like a multi-layer labyrinth of crap. And, I fortunately have a decent head on my shoulders at this point to be able to work through that stuff, but for Kate's, daughter, she's still deep in the cult. And the cult is evil in terms of what it thinks of the gay in particular, which it holds as its highest form of evil. Um, and that is evidenced by what they did in support of Danny Masterson during his trial. If Danny Masterson were gay, okay, if he had been convicted or being you know, uh, had been accused of gay sex, okay, if this had been a gay sex crime, they would have washed their hands of him. They would have like thrown him out. The only reason people say, "Well, what about John Travolta?" Blah 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 blah. Is because John Travolta is one of the biggest names they've had for the last 30 plus years, right? So they have to keep him around, and he's been a loyalist the entire time. He's never wavered for 1 minute on Scientology. He's never said one bad thing about Scientology. Um, and at every time he's been commanded to do it, he has cut anyone out of his life who hasn't towed the line. Even people who did nothing but prove to him how loyal they were to him and how much they had his back, a la Spanky Taylor, and things like that, right? So they know that ultimately they have absolute control over him, no matter what, which is why they will continue to manipulate him until the end of time. But they know what they know about him in terms of that. But if for other people like myself who went through the destruction of their lives because of the gay, they will go out of their way to protect people who commit sex crimes, actual sex crimes, against women, against children, against other human beings, because that ultimately is forgivable. You just audit it out and then move on. And as Aaron pointed out, they did an entire movie about it called The Auditor, where the actual crime that the guy committed was sexual assault. And that's why he gets thrown off his little spaceship and beached on a planet. And then when he admits to that at the end of the film, he finally confesses to this crime of sexually assaulting his crewmate, Jason Begay, who plays this pre-clear. Then his big realization, his big relief that he gets is, you know what? I should get her some auditing too. And that's what's gonna handle it. Not me, I should go to jail because I'm a scumbag piece of poop. No, I should get her some auditing. That's gonna make it better.
It's crazy. And
That's and that's L. Ron Hubbard's vision for the future, is that not that you stop committing crimes, not that crimes will stop, but that once crimes are discovered and fully handled, you just audit out the crime, and then everything's good.
yeah. And I think you mentioned it on your stream with Aaron just now, that now is the time to publicly call out these people who are
Yeah,
supporting Scientology, because of not just the belief system, but because of what it does and the effect it has on people. And the
yeah,
anti-gay rhetoric is one example of that. The documentary ends with I was umming and ahhing about whether to do this or not, but I left it in, and it ends after the
yeah,
titles with, the Tom Cruise still supports Scientology despite his
yeah,
anti-gay rhetoric, and goes through a list of celebrities. And I kind of wanted to do that to really leave an impact of, like,
yeah, for sure.
despite Scientology saying in Dianetics, right, the book that's meant to be the most important one that you can literally walk into a church today and buy from them, it says that
Right.
homosexuality is a sexual perversion and is a physical illness. Um,
He
they
doesn't
are
beat around
still
the bush in that book, guys. It's not like it's just like, "I don't like it." Mm, gross. Like broccoli, ugh. It's not like that.
yeah, and that's why I wanted to do it, is kind of, when you put it into perspective like that, how can these celebrities publicly support this organization
Right,
when the organization themselves will say, no, we're not anti-gay, we've got gay members, but in the book that it's all supposed to be based off, it says that
right.
homosexuality is a perversion and an illness. Like, it just, how can you support something like that? And that's what I wanted to connect those dots for people, that Scientology is
Mhm.
an anti-gay, it's a gay hate group, right?
Yeah. No, it is 100%, a hate group, and a number of people, gays at the top of the list, absolutely. It is also highly racist, let's just be honest, and it is completely misogynistic. And anyone who thinks it isn't those 3 things absolutely has not fully read the scriptures. And by scriptures, I mean all of the books that L. Ron Hubbard wrote, all of the, flag orders, the policy letters, and the HCOBs, the Hubbard Communications Office Bulletins. Those are the writings of L. Ron Hubbard that like dictate the policy and the technology of Scientology. There's also other tomes that he wrote, that come in the form of lectures mostly. Sometimes those are printed. And then there's also all the other basic books, that are voluminous, that you read in various courses or sometimes just on their own. And then there's other secret lectures that don't get released on other things, like the Phoenix lectures and the not the Phoenix lectures, but the blue volumes. Oh God,
Oh, the not the admin series, it was
the
the blue
the
volumes.
research and discovery series.
R&D,
Yeah,
yes.
the R&D volumes, that was just like a treasure trove of his just like mental vomit of just like wanderings into the universe of like a Thetan can inhabit 2 bodies at the same time and experience life simultaneously at different parts of the planet. Truth. that he
I
put out
remember
in
I
a research and discovery volume, which led me to believe many very strange things. Another story for another time. So, like, just wanderings, like, and then people want to truly believe that he was never on acid at any time in his life. Like, come on, guys, please, let's just be real. Anyway, so just the man, as I've said many times before, I will give it up to him. He honestly owns the Guinness Book of World Records for like writing the most shit ever, because
yeah.
he really did. Like, I'll give it up to him for that. He really, really did. I don't know how his fingers didn't break off just from typing, because he used one of those fucking typewriters with the 3 rows of like things. He was really typing like Jim Carrey in the Almighty.
Well, towards
Like,
the end,
that's
he was
just,
just recording him speaking
yeah,
and someone else was typing it up,
just
right?
dictaphoning it out, and he was
Yeah.
just crazy sauce.
I remember my
Um,
return
yeah.
program once when I can't remember whether the first time or second time I got kicked out, but my return program was to do the entire basics books and lectures
Oh my god.
package as courses from start to finish. And then I can go back into Scientology. And for those of you who don't know, the basics books and lectures is like the chronological study of all of his books and lectures that are publicly available. And I remember I
Just
petitioned.
reading History of Man, you gotta be like, "Deuces, like, peace out." Like, we came
Well,
from a clam's tears. I'm out. I'm
I
out.
petitioned it and I said, this is a ridiculous return program because even I think I can't remember whether it was a lesson a day or something. I think I was like, if I do a lesson a day, which is like a chapter a day, it will
Right.
take me 3.5 years to do this
Yeah.
return program. And then they retracted it and changed the return program. But that's the sort of quantity of stuff here that we're
Yeah.
talking about that this guy came up with.
No, it's insane. It's absolutely bonkerdoodles. It's just nuts. It's
Yeah.
nuts. And then, yeah, when you really study all of it and you really take a deep dive, more than half of it conflicts with the other half. And then you're just supposed to twist yourself constantly to like make it all make sense, and have cognition after cognition, just realization of like pew, 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 like fireworks going off all the time about how all of these things just make sense, and you're
Mm.
so knowledgeable now, and you're just woo, like, yeah,
Um,
you're making yourself nuts constantly.
Yeah, we talked in the interview and in the documentary about your journey of knowing deep down that you're having these feelings and that you're gay, but like suppressing them because if you were to come out in that moment, it would mean everything is, is untrue and you've lied about the Odyssey. You're not really
Mhm.
clear. So there was that pressure. But I wanted to ask specifically what was your thinking when you were reading policies and that sort of thing? Like, were you
Oh,
shown different? Like, what was your mind? What was your thought process when you were shown one thing that says something contradictory to what you're feeling, or
just in general, or during the whole journey of like the gay?
the
I mean,
journey
like,
of the
there was,
gay?
oh god. Well, when I got busted, my biggest downfall in life, and this is something that I've been working on professionally and as just like a human. One of my, like, as a kid, um, I think that I always wanted to be like my dad. My dad was like my biggest hero, right? And he was the life of the party. He was just like so much fun, just like the funnest guy. But he was also um a rascal, like, just not a really responsible guy, not, not a good dad, um, in terms of, like, fathering. There was a time period where he may have done an okayish job, and there's ways to look at this through many different lenses. um I definitely have good memories as a kid. There's definitely like happy times and stuff, but if I look at my life through a very harsh, realistic lens, um it's bad. It's not, you know it's not the greatest childhood that ever existed. And it's hard to, you know, have these conversations with my mom, especially because it's like really, um she doesn't enjoy it. And I think that's hard, to have any like, um, you know, uh conversation like that with your parent. I mean, my dad's passed. I can't have these like, one-on-one combos with him. So a lot of it is also, memory, and, the human memory can be faulty. Okay, like, I will grant myself, um, you know, remembering this through a child's eye and stuff as well. However, there are things that I remember very clearly. My dad was an alcoholic. Um, he suffered PTSD from Vietnam. And then when he came back from Vietnam, he got recruited into the cult by his childhood best friend, who had discovered Scientology in Northern California. Um, and was very enthusiastic about it. Was like, dude, this is the jam. We got to do this together. And my dad was like, what's it about? It was like, yeah, it's gonna free your mind. It's like great. It was like the hippie time. It was like 1970, ish. And my dad was like, sounds great. Let's do it. Now, my dad had like a huge plan in Vietnam to like make a boatload of money when he got back, because my dad was always scheming. He was a little bit of a con man already. And he had been sending himself pot in hollowed out books in like boxes that he was sending home. This was his grand scheme. He was going to like make
This
all
is
this
not
money
where I
when he
thought
got
this
home.
story was going to go.
Oh no. So his sister, his older sister, was like, what the fuck is he doing? He doesn't read all these books. He's not a reader. Something's up. So she opened up all these books that he was sending himself and was like, oh, jackpot. And smoked all the pot before he got home. So totally blew his like totally literally blew his plans. And so he had to come up with something else. So he got into Scientology and was like, hey, this is groovy. There's hot chicks here. And people think I'm groovy. And so he got trained as an auditor, and he was like, hey, Rico Suaveing it up. The chicks were like, Consova is like hot beans. And yeah, he was like the hottest guy on campus. And he was pulling down all the ladies, and he was like Mr. Auditor guy, finger guns and everything. And he was living up. Now his best friend who got him in, Denny, they both grew up like in the Seventh-day Adventist church. And his then wife, who was the sister of his brother's wife, okay, this is like how tight that little community is, was like, oh, not today, Satan, and pulled his ass back out and back into the Seventh-day Adventist church. His brother was in seminary school at the time, my uncle George, and also was like, what is up with the Scientology stuff? And my dad was like, oh, you should come on over. It's great. It's blah, 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 blah. It's all about, we love all religions, Jesus too. Like party time. Because the 70s was all about like, let's love everybody. Let's party it up. And my uncle was like, yo, I got babies now. He had already had 2 kids, my cousins. And his wife was like, no, with your brother's nuts. Like, is cuckoo cuckoo. We're not doing that shit. And so my dad was like, all right, whatever, you guys are dumb. Pew, and just like went about his way. And just dove into it, and everything was validated for him, because it was the love bombing. It was like, you're magical. Look at all these people you're helping. I mean, he went on to be the highest grossing auditor in 1 week ever in the history of Scientology. He
Wow.
audited, like I said, 3,000 hours one time. That's obviously too wrong. It was like 300 hours as a single auditor. He was then given Kakan status at that point. And so now, as you know, I will explain briefly. If you reach the status of Kakan, you can be forgiven murder 3 times in Scientology, literally. Okay.
It's
You
a
can
free
never
ticket
commit
to
a crime.
do whatever you want
Free
and
ticket.
face no
Free ticket
repercussions whatsoever.
status in
I
Scientology. So at that point, he
love
was
that.
a superhuman. Superhuman. He was involved in Operation Snow White. He was never an official GO person. My mom was. They met at that time, and my mom retells this story very jokingly. When he came on the scene, her boss was like, yelling at her, like, you like that Consova guy? And she's like, no, he's a pretty boy. He's stupid. I'm not interested. And he just kept like saying that to her. And
Mm.
finally, one day she was like, maybe. And they went out on a date. He bought her a
The
pack of
rest is
cigarettes.
history.
The rest is history. Most
Right.
romantic thing anyone could do in Scientology, buy you a pack of cigarettes. And then I came along, she left. They moved to picturesque Lodi, California. If anybody knows where that is, middle of nowhere. My sister was born. No,
Straight
it's
over
just
my
it's
head.
it's a one-horse teeny tiny town in Central Cali.
Right.
My sister was born. We weren't really doing anything at that time, and then my dad got sucked back in. Around the time I was 7, he was painting houses. He was doing really well. And he was starting to get on this like get rich quick scheme again because he was always feeling like this I'm not good enough. I'm not, like I'm not rich. I'm not this, that, and the other thing. And he, again, because of alcohol, he used to tell me all the time, I'm going to see a man about a horse, which I thought every time he told me that he was going to buy me a horse. I was always waiting for this horse to come home.
Sure.
I did not understand that that meant he was going to the racetrack to bet tons of money that he never won.
Right.
And so one night he did not come home from seeing this man about the horse. And my mom was just like, whatever, he's probably at our friend Les's house sleeping it off. And then at school, my mom showed up early to come get us because my dad had gotten into a very severe single car accident because he blacked out
Right.
and wrecked his new truck and ended up partially breaking his back. And like he looked like Frankenstein. He had stitches all over his face
Wow.
and like he was like almost died. That was when I was 7.5. And I know now that because of that accident, he ended getting like severe brain trauma. He was never totally right after that. Um, you know, um, a lot of other problems. My parents ended up divorcing when I was about 8.5. After that, after he invested in a gold mine in Arizona that did not exist. And
Wow.
my mom gave him the ultimatum, like, she thought I was gonna snap him out of it. Um, like, we're gonna
Mm.
get divorced. And he was like, "Okay, when do you want me out of the house?" Kind of a thing. Um, you know, and, yeah, didn't work out well. He ended up, like, hooking up with a chick less than a
Mm.
week later. And because it was the '80s and he had a new place, he sent a cab to pick up me and my sister and drove us across town, across San Francisco. I was 8.5, my sister was 4. It's the '80s, guys. It's a totally different time. It's
Wow.
the Uber of the time, okay? And, yeah, we went, to the new house, and there was this weird lady who knew my name, and, she proceeded to kiss my dad in front of us in a very, like, pornographic fashion, and so I did what
Gosh.
any responsible 8.5-year-old would do. I called my mother, and I told her exactly what happened. That did not go well. Um,
Wow.
yeah, my mom reached through the phone and, strangled him to death, in front of me. And yeah. So yeah, that was kind of my relationship with my dad. And then from then on, they got divorced and it was just,
Mm.
popping between houses every other weekend until my mom married my stepdad, who's a great guy, Harry. And as soon as they got married, he moved to LA. And so we'd see him like once a year. Um, and it was bad, and they disappeared for an entire year of my life. I didn't know where he was.
God.
And they just pop back in like a fucking jack in the box. Hey, like as if nothing had happened. I had to threaten him to come to my high school graduation. I told him if he didn't show up, he could just peace out. Don't talk to me again. And then somehow, because I'm a typical red-blooded American girl with daddy issues, he convinced me to move to LA and work at a Scientology school that my stepmother was working at, and move in with him and pay half the rent
Oh my God.
because I'm a moron. Right? Um, and because he had pimped me out to these recruiters my whole life and all these other things, you know, uh, every time a recruitment session would come up, I knew it would make him happy. I knew, um, you know, um, ultimately he would be so proud of me and I wanted him to be proud of me, you know? Um,
So that was playing in the back of your mind when you were reading policies and
always.
things that,
I mean, any policy they show you has 2 sides to it.
yeah,
So when I got caught, well, this is a super long answer to your original question. So
it's okay. Take
part
all
of
the
my
time you need.
downfall is like, well, because my dad was such a con artist, I was always trying to be more honest than him,
Mhm.
right? Um, which is hard. And so I'm always telling on myself, right? I'm always like outing myself for things when I'm learning to say less about things, even though I just gave you like an hour and a half answer to a 1-second question.
It's
Um,
fine. That's what we're here for.
but yeah, but um, you know, uh, he never told the truth about anything. He never, I don't think, and that's probably what killed him more than the heart attack. If he had really just been honest with his family, with me, with my mom, with everybody about things, he'd probably still be here, you know. Um, but like people suspected me for being the gay for years at the at CC at Celebrity Center, and they were always trying to catch me. Always, they never caught me. I mean, I got through Key to life orientation course. I had to redo my word clear course and the sorry everyone, and the internship and the metering course and the internship because we had to redo all that. It was a whole hullabaloo after our training at Flag, and the professional soup course and the internship, the like 7 courses, guys. 7 courses and internships.
And these are like major
And they were
courses as well. These aren't just like life improvement courses. You go and read a
no,
book
these
and
are
ask some questions. These
huge. And
are
I
huge.
was getting
Yeah.
sec checked daily on the Truth Rundown, which is one of the most intensive like sec checks you can get. It never came up for 2 years. I was doing this 2 years. And it never came up because I had learned to compartmentalize me and what I was showing to everyone. And finally, everything blew up one night because I went to get in and out for me and my lover. And I came back with the in and out, and the security chief was like, where are you going with that in and out?" And I was like, I'm bringing it to, me and me and so and so and blah blah. And I wasn't living in the room with them anymore because I got, like removed from the room because suspect. And they were like, why would you get in and out for them? You're not even in the same room. And I was like, just because, we're gonna have CSP together and have dinner, like whatever. And then the HCO area secretary that has, who's in charge of like ethics and everything else, was called me up to her room later. And she was like, she sat me down on her bed and we were like, because we were friends. We were friends. And she's like, um, I just want you to know that everyone knows what's been going on with you in Austin. And it'd be best if you just, confessed about it and just told us. It would just be great. Just be great. If you just tell us. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just like had a whole shit. And then I just started like freaking out in my mind. Like I was like, oh my God, the jig is up. Everybody knows. Like I just believed what she said. No one had any evidence. Nobody actually knew. I had my mom's car
They
because
do
it was
this
CSP
all
and
the
I borrowed it.
time. Just to
Yeah.
interject very briefly, they do
Right.
this like they did this even to me in the org in London. Like they would pull you into an ethics interview and they would go, "We know what you've done," and I'm like, "I actually haven't done
Yeah.
anything." Like what we told was, well, look, just tell us, right?
And
If
I
you
was
just come
so
clean,
dumb. I was like, oh God, they know.
because they're
They
just trying
know.
to
They know
trick you
everything.
into confessing to
They
something
did.
when you haven't
They
even
tricked me
done
into
anything
it.
most of the time.
They
Yeah.
tricked me into it. This woman, Jennifer, sat me down and told me, and I believed her 100% because she was my friend,
Mm.
because we were friends. This is a woman who would confess to me about things that were going on in her marriage that I would talk her through and give her references and hold her hand and be like, here's what you should do. And like, because I worked with her husband for a number of years, and I'd be like, oh, no, you're misinterpreting this conversation. And I would like talk her through stuff. And I was genuinely friends with her. I cared about her. So when she came to me and told me that, why would I disbelieve her? Like I thought in my mind, we are friends.
Mhm.
So she said to me, you better come to me by the end of, we always had like drilling period on Monday morning. You have until the end of Monday morning or it's going to be really bad. So we do the drilling Monday morning. And I'm thinking in my mind, like I have my mom's car and I could just take off. I could just fucking take off. But my mom's going to come pick it up. Like we had an agreement that I would leave it in the parking lot and she would come pick it up on her way to course. And then I knew if she came to pick it up and it wasn't there, like I was screwing her over. And I didn't want to do that to my mom. And I was like, shit. So there was a moment where it would have been my 3rd time blowing. And I just was like, I can't do it to my mom again. I'm just going to have to own up to it. Like, this is it. I'm going to put on my big girl panties and I'm going to just own up to it. So we're walking back inside and she's not saying anything to me. And I'm thinking, okay, this is really bad. Like, things are bad. So we're like going upstairs and I was like, are we going to have like another talk or Like, she's like, "Oh, right. Yeah, right. Okay, let's go down to my office. Yeah, for sure. Yeah." And then I'm like, "Wait, what?" And I see Austin, and she's like, and then Jen's like, "Oh, no, you can't talk to her right now. You can't talk to her right now. Not right now." And then I was like, "Oh, fuck." Like, in that moment, I was like, "I fucked up." Like,
Yeah.
I should have just been like, "Nope, just kidding. I don't have anything to say. I want a lawyer." Like, so, like, I don't know, just
Yeah.
like, I lost my mind, and I sat down, and I did not know she was recording me either time. And we sat down in her office, and she secretly tape recorded me the entire conversation. And she's like, "Why don't you just tell me everything?" So I just laid out everything that had happened over the last 2 years. Then I go from this secretly tape recorded conversation, which is illegal in the state of California. It's a two-party consent state, to the session with my regularly scheduled auditor, Shyla Farmer, who just sits down in front of me with the most furious face I've ever seen on another human being, besides the one I get when I'm furious with my children. And she just like throws the cans at me and just says, "I'm not auditing you."
Wow.
And then I was like, are you gonna
No,
are you asking me questions today? Are we just do you want me
but
just talking? Like, do you want me just to say stuff? What's happening? Why don't you just tell me? Why don't you just tell me? Like, that's literally no questions.
jeez.
Just start talking. So I just like repeated the whole story for her.
Mm,
It was not a session. Yeah. So I had to
that's
like,
horrible.
because she had been auditing me now for, I don't know, 6 months.
Mhm.
And she was also in her own co-audit with Jessica Feshback, who had been on the RPF once for missing somebody's withholds. So Jessica was in hot water, who, by the way, went on to marry Tommy Davis. That's a whole other story. Everyone's connected. Yes.
Yeah.
There's nobody I'm never not connected to somehow. Anyway. So the first thing that I get asked after all these sessions, I sit down with the ethics officer, who's also my friend, another woman. Now all the women are terrified of me. They are just like, they're thinking of all the times, I'm sure, that they've been alone in a room with me, that we've been changing. How many times have I
And they're
looked at their
thinking the
boobs?
worst
How many
because
times have I wanted to touch them? How many times
yeah.
have we hugged? How many times have all of those things meant something else? Ladies, I want you to, I'm going to get real close to the microphone. We're going to get real intimate here. All of you that I was in this Yarg with, I just want you to know right now, okay? If I have not personally shouted out your name at some point, or if I don't, um, it you're not my type. Okay. It wasn't you. So please, I'm sorry to let you down, ladies. Not all of you were that attractive. So please get over yourself. Okay, thank you.
Savage. But that's the
But
thing,
yes, they were
Scientologists believe
absolutely
that
terrified.
if you're
Absolutely
gay,
terrified.
you're attracted to everybody of the
That's
same
how it
sex. Like,
works.
just
Like,
because you
that's
are gay, that means you don't
no.
have the idea of being attracted to some people and not to others. You're just instantly attracted to everybody.
It's insane. It's like that's not how it works for straights. You're not
Yeah,
attracted to every single person on the street. It's the
yeah.
same for gays.
And I think
It's the same.
your treatment just there, you were talking about, trying to trick you into admitting it and then putting you in a room and being really mean to you. Like, these are things that Scientology does to people just anyway, right?
Oh
Regardless of,
yeah.
it could have been about anything, not just being about gay, that they would have done this to you. But when you couple in that, mindset of struggling to come to terms with your sexuality, or say you were, thinking about gender and you weren't sure you were in the right body or something like this, which is not sexuality, but it's another big question of like, who am I and where do I belong and all of
I
this.
don't even
It
know what
just
would
makes that
happen if
whole
somebody
thing,
had a conversation like that in a church of Scientology. They would their hair would catch on fire.
it
Like,
just makes the
literally
whole thing
catch on
that
fire.
much worse, that you're
Oh
going
yeah.
through those struggles yourself. You're not really sure who you are. And then you've got these people yelling at you.
And then they asked me, the first question I get asked is, "What do you want to do now?" And I said, "Oh, what are you asking me?" So, well, what do you want to do now? I said, "Are you asking if I want to be like the president of the Pride Club? Do I want to be on a Pride float? Like, am I trying to get a girl? What are you asking?" I said, "I
Yeah.
don't know." I said, "I don't know what want to do right now. Like, can I fix it? Can I stay? Can I go? What are you asking me? Like, am I trying to go march in the pride parade? Like, what is the question? Like, what? Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I said, am I getting kicked out? The first thing they did was try to declare me a suppressive person. They set up a folder this thick with all of my crimes. First of all, my stats were in power. Okay. For those of you guys who don't know, that's all of the conditions that you can be in, all the way down from, confusion, which is the bottom, all the way up to power, which is the top. If your stats are in a state of normal, they spike up, and then they go into a state of normal and a new state of normal that it like is above what it used to be normal, and it like spikes up here, it goes into affluence, and then it's in a state of normal after that. That is power. My stats were in power. Okay.
High five, power group. Mine
Just
were too when I got
boom.
kicked out.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
Thank you. And so I also had a friend in the International Justice Chief's office who
Mhm.
was a guy who happened to have a little bit of a crush on me. Um, and you know, he got this petition and he sent it back rejected. He was like, "No, Nora's not an SP. Handle her." He literally wrote a note on the top. "Nora's not an SP. Handle her." And they were pissed. Let me tell you, with the day that rejection came back, the chief officer Rose, hi Rose, um, she was so mad that I was her roommate at the time. She just started like throwing a fit, just like, "This girl's an SP and she's in my room and I'm a senior executive." Like, I mean,
Jeez.
like, oh my God.
Probably
Like,
because
first
you've
of all,
kind of
also
gone
Rose, not my type, honey. No, thank you. Um,
Probably
Also,
because you've
just
gone
you're
above
awful.
her head, right? Like I had a similar thing, right? When I with an ethics thing I was going through in the church, like, if you have, for people who don't know, you have like the city level orgs, and then you have in the UK it's like St. Hill, the CLO, the Continental Liaison Office, and then you go up the line like this. There's a chain of command. And I remember there was a point where I kind of went, I think it was the CLO, I went to the Continental Justice Chief of like, I don't think London are able to deal with this. They're not sorting it out. So you go to the next step to say, can you sort it out for me? And London hated that because they're now being told what to
Right,
do rather than doing it
right.
themselves. And that really pissed them off because you're going above their head. And there was a time when this was just before I got kicked out where they declared me a PTS type D. And they were
Mhm.
like, well, why don't you go and talk, because you're buddy with the Continental Justice Chief now. Why don't you go and speak to St. Hill about it? And I was
Right.
like, I will.
Yeah, I mean, like, what the fuck do I have to lose at that point? Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, I was on decks for 3 months, just in this fucking limbo of bullshit, and I was like, "Listen, guys, here's the situation. Either you're kicking me out and you're letting me go, fine, let me go. Who fucking cares? Okay? Or you're sending me the RPF. Great. Send me to the RPF. But what is the deal? I'm just sitting here doing nothing. Like, I'm just sitting here doing nothing. Like, this is BS. Like, either kick me out, I'm gone, bye, deuces, bye, Felicia, peace out, who cares? Or put me on the RPF. Either way, get me the fuck out of here. But then when I got to the RPF, like, then let's go back to the references. So they want to show me, they kept showing me the Freedom Congress, and they wanted me to listen to this one lecture. I wish I could remember the name of the lecture on the Freedom Congress. But in the lecture in
I was
particular,
trying to dig it out when you talked about this in the interview, but
yeah,
I couldn't find it
because
online.
Elron, yeah, it's like if you're looking at the tape cassettes, I can
It said like
remember
bottom
in
left,
the one
right?
I looked at, when you open it up, it's like on the bottom. If it's like you open it up, it's on the right-hand side. It's like on the bottom left-hand corner of the right-hand side, if I remember correctly. But I
If
can't,
anyone in
it'll
chat
come
has
to me.
got the Freedom Congress tapes,
Yeah,
please
I'll try
email
and
me or
remember.
Nora and we'll try and
But the
figure it
quote
out.
is something like, you go down the line and you're a man over and over and over and over again, and one day you're run through with a sword, and you wake up and you're a woman. What are you supposed to do? Learn to sew, right? And so he makes the joke in this lecture that you can experience the, different genders from lifetime to lifetime, right? And that you will have to adapt, uh being a different gender, right? Because you will inhabit different bodies, and that can be a cause. In this lecture, he touches just for a moment that may be a cause for same-sex attraction, and that may be why it explains it, but then he flips the switch and is like, "You know what? You're just gonna have to do what's normal when you're in the other body, because even if you've been a man 3,000,000 times, okay, when you're in the lady body, you just gotta do what ladies do. You just gotta suck it up, buttercup, and
I always
just
thought
be a lady."
I talked to Kate Bornstein about this. I can't remember if it was caught on tape or not. For those of you interested, I'm going to be releasing the interview with Kate in full too, in due course. But we talked about the whole idea of a thetan, like not having a
A
gender or a
gender.
sex or
Right,
whatever, like, you know. And I always thought this was an interesting one. If like if you're meant to be this immortal spiritual being that's not affected by the physical universe or the messed universe, as we called it in
right.
Scientology, like, well, why are you as a thetan being influenced by your messed body, right? If you are a male or a female and that's like, surely that kind of goes against Aaron Hubbard's thing of like, you know, you're a spiritual being that's not affected by the messed role because you're in control of the messed universe. Like, well,
I mean,
how can a
I
body have so much impact on who you're attracted
I
to and all
don't
of
know.
this? Like, well,
Oh,
you know, it doesn't make any sense. That's the answer,
it
but
doesn't, but I mean, everybody can do whatever analogies they want. I mean, I just, people know what they like, people know what they want. And it's, people used to joke and say, like, your body's your car, like people like to use the car analogy for the body. You got to put the right fuel in it, you got to do the right things, you got to change the tires. But let's be honest, when you get in a sports car, okay, that is fine tuned, it's got a sexy engine, it's got plush seats, it's got that nice, steering wheel, it's got, the gears are well oiled. That's a sexy car to drive, okay? When it feels good. When you sit in a car that's like, this is my jam. It's got some tunes, the stereo's nice. You're like, "Yes." And then you get in like the shitty airport economy car that's your rental, that like somebody had like weird BO and like they
oh,
didn't quite wash it out, and you're like, "Okay, it drives.
yeah.
It's it it'll get me there, and I'm just using it for the weekend." Like, "Mm, all right."
Yeah.
Like, that's like pretending to be straight.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I can
think
do it for this long.
this is one thing I wanted to highlight in the documentary as well, as like, why does it, like, it doesn't matter who you're attracted to or what gender you are or how you
Right.
identify as who you are, like, it doesn't matter. And we live in this world where for some reason we all have to understand what other people are doing and fall into categories. And, you know, I just wanted to get that point across of like, firstly, it doesn't matter and it shouldn't matter who you are, who you identify with, or who you even are attracted to. This is going to be a bit of a tangent, but question for you. Um,
Yeah.
and this is someone who doesn't fall into the LGBTQ plus rainbow thing. Like, why is it that gender is lumped in with sexuality? Because in my mind, how you identify as, like, whether you identify as a male or female or whatever, that doesn't have any bearing on your sexuality, whether you like males or females or whatever. So why,
Mm.
and this might be a really long-winded question for you to answer, and there may not be an answer, but like, why do we think of gender conformity and non-conformity and
Right.
sexuality categories or whatever you want to call it as they're two, in my mind, completely separate things? Is
Well,
that me being naive?
no, no, no. I think that this is a huge conversation, Alex. You just open up like every can of worms. However,
Sorry.
no, 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 no. And I'll give you a short answer on this. I used to have a very firm like answer on this, right? Um, because like again, I grew up in the '80s, so you were gay or straight, and if you were straight, you was a boy girl, and that was it. And there weren't, and then there was trans people, and then they were just like in their own nesting category over here. That's it. And then and that was it. Right. As I've evolved as a human and come out of the cult and come out of the closet and everything else, I think honestly the best answer for this ever came from Schitt's Creek. Um, and that comes to us from, of course, David, who, when they're getting asked about their own sexuality, they say, I like the wine and not the label. because it doesn't really have anything to do with what, as I jokingly refer to my kids' appearance, the candy coating shell. It has to do with the person.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that our gender is more the expression that we express that in is the candy coating shell because, like, I get sirred all the time. Like,
Especially in the
I
seals, I
have,
bet you did. Yes, sir.
oh God. Well, yeah, yes, but
Yeah.
bum.
Sorry,
He's got
couldn't
those
resist that
guys.
one.
But I get sirred in real life all the time.
Right.
And, this is not like a braggadocious moment. I'm wearing a black t-shirt, but I have very large boobs and they cause me back problems all the time. I don't recommend 0 stars. But
Right.
despite that, and I'm not a tall person. I'm like 5'5". People, I just walk into a room and people are like, "Oh, thank you, sir. Yes, sir." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." But I have short hair, especially from the back. I don't wear aggressively men's clothing, but I don't wear dresses. I don't wear any makeup. My fingernails are short. I have a short, but I have a hockey, it's like all hawked out haircut. Um, and I still have very much like a Seorgish kind of walk. It's very powerful. My wife is like, "Could we just walk like humans? Can we
It's
just
tone
walk like
40.
people?"
You got
Right. It's
intention.
just, yeah, I really have to
I have the
uh
same thing. I might
concentrate
not
on
have
not
any
marching.
idea where I'm going, but I
Yeah,
feel like
we're
I
just
know
gonna
I'm
get there.
yeah.
We're going. We're
I
getting
might
there.
just be
I don't
going
know.
to the
I'm
shop. I
lost.
don't even know which shop but I'm going.
We're there
Yeah,
first.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so it's just like I always, it's just that I don't know if it's a confidence thing, that kind of stuff. But it happens all the time, and I'm less offended by it now than I used to be. As a child, I hated it. I got asked if I was a boy or a girl constantly. Um, you know, uh, it's just and I don't, and I allow my kids a lot more free dress, 99% more than I was ever allowed as a child. I do have restrictions. I'm gonna be honest. Um, like I require like there's a trend now with teens, especially girls, where they wear like enormous sweatshirts and then shorts that are basically underwear, and then it looks like they're wearing nothing under these t-shirts or shorts. I do not allow that. I do require that it is known that there is an under some form of short under the shirt that
And
looks like a dress.
that's a fair
I
restriction
that
for a
is
parent,
just a
right?
requirement
Yeah.
I have. Also like my other teen, the 14-year-old, my non-binary child likes to wear like 15 layers when it's 90 degrees out. I just put the kibosh on that. Like I don't want you getting heat stroke.
Yeah.
We get in arguments over ridiculous things like this. Like the beanie, unnecessary when it's 90 degrees out. Okay. I'm just going to say no to that. I don't care how cool you look. I'm sorry you can't comb your hair today. You're going to have to comb it. Like
Yeah.
I'm unreasonable. I'm sorry.
I don't think
But
that's
other than that,
unreasonable.
like if you want to wear all black, I don't care.
Mhm.
If you want to wear your hair in space buns, okay, I don't understand it. But that's fine. That's these are also okay with me. I am always learning. I'm always trying to keep up with whatever.
Yeah.
There's so many things I don't understand. I mean, I'm acronyms and all these other things. But the
It's
gender thing for
acceptance
me,
and being tolerant of others, right? And
I
that's
mean,
what
and especially when I'm with my wife, her hair is longer. She is much, she's very, I mean, she's gorgeous and I love her very much. But it's, she's very n- n- recognizable as very female.
right.
And I don't consider myself not female looking. I don't think that I like, somehow mannish passing or something. Um, but I did like, what was ironic is that we went out to breakfast, um, and our waitress was a lesbian, and she immediately came out to me and was like, where do you get your hair faded? Because I've been trying to cut my wife's hair like that and I can't do it.
Love
I
it.
was like, "Oh, I'll tell you where, you should go see my barber. She's amazing. Mariah at Slabtown Barbershop. Shout out to Mariah for my awesome fade."
I love it. It's awesome. I think that's we'll try and round up now and then we can get into the Q&A and stuff if you want.
Yes,
But
let's get into the
I
questions.
think, yeah, just the final thing was that this is the point of the documentary that I wanted to do is we need to be more tolerant and more accepting in
Yes.
general. But I wanted to highlight that the struggles you go through as someone on this journey, regardless, are hard. But then if you're also affected or, a part of in any way Scientology, it makes that struggle and journey even worse. And it did kind of hit home at the end with the message from you to anyone that's currently in, and a message from Kate, and particularly a message to Kate's daughter. It does get a bit emotional, but the whole point is that this isn't something we're talking about that's historic, that happened in the past. Yes, it happened in the
No.
past to you, but this is going on right now, to this
Look what's
very
happening
day.
with Liz. Look what's happening with
Yeah,
Liz right now. I mean, she and what's ironic is Liz wasn't a staff member. She wasn't a SEERG member. Her father's is still a SEERG member. Apparently he's still alive. And they didn't just do this to her, and
that's
she
one
came
thing
out
I
as
said to
gay.
Liz the other day. I was messaging
Yeah.
her saying the one thing that worries me is obviously what we're going through is horrible and bad and all of this, but if they've done it to you, I can almost 100% guarantee you are not the only person this has happened to, which
No.
is just
No,
gross.
because all she did was come out. All she did was say,
Mm,
"Hey, I'm gay." And then that was it. Like, not only was that it wasn't like, "Hey, you can't I'm disconnecting from you." Right? Because that was the whole time where Tommy Davis was marching around saying there's no such thing as disconnection. Okay, so this is why they couldn't have him disconnect from her, because everybody's like, "Well, why didn't he just disconnect? Why didn't he just say, 'I can't talk to you anymore?'" Because Tommy Davis was literally on the news saying, "There's no such thing as disconnection. We
mhm.
never I've never heard of that. That's crazy. We don't
And
even
even
have
when
that
they
word
do
in our
admit it,
vocabulary."
even
Yeah.
when they do
So
admit it, the words are really careful. And I'm
yeah,
I'm guilty of this. I used to do this when I was in Scientology. Do you disconnect families? No, we never
no,
force disconnection, because no one
never.
ever says you have to do this, because there's always an option. They say,
Yeah,
well, it's your choice to disconnect. If you do disconnect, then you can continue in Scientology. But if you don't want to disconnect, that's fine. But there's the door. You
fine,
can't carry on
bye.
in Scientology. So it's
Yeah,
like it's your choice, but it's
always
not a
your choice.
choice.
Yeah. No. And so they just said, "Well, oh, so sorry your dad's dead. Please don't call us again. Okay, bye.
It's horrible.
Please don't leave a message. He won't get it because he's dead." No.
It's disgusting. It really is disgusting.
And then they didn't even it's like they told his whole family that. And then it was like, no body, no nothing. And that's the thing. It's like they will just that's that I don't even know gaslighting. Is that gaslight? I don't even know. I don't even know that we have to coin a new term for that. That is just um yeah,
Vicious
that's
and
I mean, I
horrible.
never saw my dad's body. That still haunts me to this day. His mother didn't get to say goodbye to him either. So I mean, that his whole family had a conspiracy theory for a while that he didn't actually die, my dad, because the
And
coroner's report said he was so fat. I mean, he was fat. He was in really bad shape. So yeah.
but Scientologists love a good conspiracy theory. That's another
They
whole
do.
rabbit
But
hole we can
his
get
family's
down.
not Scientologists. They're just,
Okay, right.
yeah, it's a whole
Let's get
thing.
into
No.
some questions.
Let's
I've been
do
starring them as
questions.
we go along. If anyone wants to ask anything, stick it in the chat and we'll go through them. First one,
Yes.
SPTV Tattoo Warrior. Howdy, Apostate Alex. How much do I owe the Aftermath Foundation for June? So this is something I did a quick live on the other day. To help Mike Grinder raise the money he needs for his treatment at the beginning of June, I said I would donate 100% of my YouTube earnings to Mike Grinder. He then came out later, and Christy, and they both said they didn't need the money, but I'd committed to it anyway, so I'm still going to do it. I'm waiting for it to hit my bank account. But my YouTube earnings for June were £291, which is $380, I think. So as soon as I get that, I'll be donating straight to Mike. And I believe
Fantastic.
Tattoo Warrior is one of the people who agreed to match that donation. So thank you, and that's the amount.
Oh, that's so fantastic.
Amazing for the super chat, thank you. How funny is it you could advertise interview with the gay and we'd all know who it is? Honestly, iconic, Nora. I love this the gay thing. It makes me laugh every single time. I love it.
Yeah. I should trademark that quick. Um,
Def- Trademark the gay. I don't know how successful that would be, but
It'd be like the whole LGBT community would be coming for me. That's it. I would be dead. I can't.
Peace and love. Excellent documentary, Alex and Nora. Thank you very much.
So good.
L. Ron Hubbard, here he is. He said it himself. Keep being you, Nora. We love you just the way you
Oh,
are.
thank you, Elron. Thank you.
It's true. It's true. We all love you, Nora. Free Xena Project. Question. I wonder what Scientology thinks about all these movements with the LGBTQ community. They can't change LRH policies, but it's making them look horrible. DM, Dave Miscavige, must be going nuts trying to figure this out. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think absolutely because with everything that happened with Danny Masterson, I mean, that's a whole shitstorm already by itself. And now if the LGBTQ community blows up in his face because, um, on Aaron's panel, I brought up a whole list of second gens and we can drop that as well before we go. But, I mean, the only person they have is Catherine Bell right now, who's like their one gay. I've said it many times publicly, like, Catherine, girl, like, you are in the movie Get Out. Like, they are literally, you're in the movie Get Out. Like, you need to get out, honey. They are not helping you. They do not love you. They are royally hurting you and Brooke, your wife. They're just using you. She needs to escape, like yesterday. I've tried for a number of years to get in contact with her. We were friends at one time. And I would love nothing other than to help her in any way that I could to declutter actually her mind from Scientology. I have nothing but love and admiration for her. But she is collateral damage from that cult. 100%. They ruined her and they continue to ruin her. And I worry about her health and everything else when I see her in public. I don't think she's, it takes a toll on you to hurt yourself mentally like that. But yeah, if she were to leave and really tell what it's like, it would be really bad. It would be really bad for them because they have treated her horrifically inside the church.
And that's probably why
Yeah.
they let her carry on the way she does, because they'd rather keep her happy than have her
Well, they're not
leave.
keeping her happy though. They're hurting her.
But I
And
mean,
so
they'd rather have her
yeah.
in, not
Oh,
doing
yeah.
what they want her to, but then
Yeah.
leave, because if she leaves, she'd talk out,
Oh,
right?
yeah. They can't have her leave.
Yeah.
In the same way they can't have John leave.
Yeah. Talking of John,
You know.
actually, is another super chat. Pembroke Love, thanks for the super chat.
Mm.
But do you think they would continue to support Travolta if he actually came out? I think that would be a bridge too far. Excellent pun. Bridge too far.
Hey-o. No, they would absolutely not support John Travolta. My wish when Kelly Preston was still alive, and I'm, RIP to Kelly, who was honestly one of the sweetest and nicest humans to ever walk this earth. I wish that they would have publicly left the church together and come out with a public statement that just would have literally just been like, listen, we are in this marriage together. We love each other. We have an open relationship. And what John wants to do with other people is fine by me. Everyone else, fuck off. Thank you very much. End of statement. And then just like fucking let John live his life. And that would have been the end of it. And then everybody would have been like, oh, okay. Well, I guess it's not a story anymore. And then it just would have like faded away. And the rest of Hollywood would have been like, oh, John's bi. Well, okay. She's cool with it. And then it would have just been nothing. It would have been nothing. And everybody could have just effed off and it would have been fine. And they could have just all lived their life because, of course, Kelly knew. Of course. And their kids could have just been fine. And, no one is going to hate him. No one's going to hate John Travolta if he comes out of the closet. The public isn't going to hate him. The church is going to be like, burn it with fire.
Yeah.
But like the real world is where there's millions of people. 0% are going to care.
Yeah, much more supporting,
Yeah.
Boys in the trees, thank you for your super chat. Hi, Alex and Nora. Your honesty and humor are a gift to SPTV.
And
always be you, girl. Much love and respect, and thanks for fixing the lights.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you for the super chat. There's another one here, Buffy Lynn. Do you want to read this one out?
Yes, Lodi is big wine country now. I know. You used to live in Galt. Oh my God, my cousins live there now still, and that is a teeny tiny town. There's a song about Lodi. Yes, I know. When I lived there as a kid, there was nothing there. Now it's a destination town. Costs lots of money to go to Lodi.
Straight over my head.
Yeah,
Zero
if you,
reality
it's a cute little
on it.
town now. It's part of wine country in California now. It's very fancy.
Oh, lovely.
Poshy posh.
Dave Bowen, thank you for super chat. We're not going to get political here, but you paid for it, so we're going to read it out. I'm a
Hey,
moderate conservative who votes Trump, and I just love Nora. We aren't what the news says we are. Nora
hey,
is truly good
Dave,
people.
I love you back, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We
I
love
appreciate
everyone
it.
that loves Nora. So there we go. Petrazzi20, thank you for the super chat. Nora, do you want to read this one out?
Nora, I love to hear your experiences. You have a beautiful smile. Also, thank you. And Alex, you're great too. Great duo.
Thank you. I love it. This is fantastic. There's another one here, Swedish Lena. I just love you two together. The chemistry between the two of you showed in your excellent documentary.
Oh,
Thank you. I'm glad that came across. I'm one of Nora's biggest fans. I'm not gonna lie.
oh, thank you,
Fanging.
Alex.
Oh my god. Do you remember so for those of you in the chat, earlier Nora accidentally FaceTimed me. And it was the funniest thing because I very rarely drink tea as an English person. This is sacrilege to admit
Oh
to.
my
I'm a
God, you're
coffee
gonna get
drinker.
arrested.
I know, but today I actually had a cup of tea, a very rare thing for me, and I was laughing so hard because it's the most British thing to ever text back Nora. But I was literally holding my tea, and Nora called me, and I was like, "Oh, hold my tea!" Nora's calling, like, "Oh my god!" And then Nora texted me going, "Oh, sorry, Pockadale or Dial, I didn't mean to do that," and I was
Yeah,
like,
because I was texting you, you texted me, and I texted you back. And then I was also texting my son who's in LA with his dad. And I was trying to get my youngest to FaceTime with him periodically because they're at a Lego thing in Long Beach. And um and I started FaceTiming again. And then my youngest is like, "Who's Alex? Why are we FaceTiming Alex?" I was like, "Oh shit." I was like, "Sorry, wrong FaceTime." Because I'm like in 17 FaceTimes at once, like, and I was like, "Oh."
I got
I was like,
so
"That's my friend in
excited.
England. Hang on, wrong FaceTime." And then I go back to my other son, and I'm like, "Okay, I have to stop."
I got
Technology.
so
Too many people at
excited.
once.
I was like, Nora's calling me. Oh my
I was
god,
like, "I'm
stop
talking to you
everything.
later anyway." I was like, "You can, Alex. I'm sure he wants to hear all about your Legos."
Oh, I love it. Another super chat. Toy Ranch, thank you. We love you, Nora. Hot dog
Well,
emoji.
so many hot dogs. Uh-oh, hot dog.
Honestly, trademark that. You could trademark that for sure. For sure.
I know
In fact,
Bobby Lee might get mad at me. Everybody asks where "uh-oh, hot dog" comes from. It's from a sketch from Mad TV. The great comedian Bobby Lee, who I love so much, did an entire it's like a whole little bit where like his character that would just say, "Oh, hot dog," like when something would happen. And I've just been saying that my whole life since I was a teen now, when something bad happens. But if you never watched Mad TV as a teen, late at night, yeah,
I
you
love
don't
it.
know "uh-oh, hot dog," but I've brought it back. You're welcome, Bobby Lee.
I love it. I'm gonna need to go and watch this, and I'm gonna think of you whenever I hear
Yeah,
a
just
hot
look
dog.
up "uh-oh, hot dog" on YouTube. I mean, I'm
I'm
probably
there.
the first thing that comes up now because 'cause I've said it so many times, but yeah, Mad TV was great. Mad
Yeah.
TV was, that and Living Color and SNL, like, are my gym jams. So, yeah,
Really hard to
for
get
sure.
those things here in the UK. Like we can't watch SNL here. It's an
Yeah,
American
but
thing. It's
see,
not.
now because you're British, and thank you for never calling me this, most Brits are like, "Nora Batty? Oh, thank you so much. I love you, Nora Batty. Oh, you're wonderful. Oh, do you know about Nora Batty? Have you heard of Nora Batty?" I'm like, "Yes, I know of yes, thank you. I know Nora Batty. Yes." "Oh, I love Nora Batty. She's the best. Nora Batty." Yeah.
Your Scottish accent on Aaron's stream the other week was hilarious, by the way. I actually clipped it because I thought it was so funny. You perfected the Scottish accent better than me. And my grandfather was Scottish. I was Scottish heritage and I can't do a Scottish accent, but you nailed it.
I have Scottish heritage,
Do
but
you?
this
Maybe we're
I tell you,
related.
when you end up sitting, we could be related. There's not that many Scots out there. But when you sit next to all these guys, when you're training at Flag, you just talk to them all day. Like you
Hi,
just
Catherine.
end up, hi Catherine. You just end up sitting there, like, listening to these people from all over the world, and you pick up all these accents, and it's, like, crazy. You start learning a little bit of
Oh,
all these
yeah.
different languages, like,
My
all over the place.
my senior in London Org was Hungarian, and I'll never
Mm.
forget the way she used to. It's a really empty building, the org, so it's really echoey, especially when you're in the public information center. And I'll never forget multiple times this happened a week. She'd be at the other end of the building, and she'd be like, "Alex, Alex," like just like that, saying Alex, but in her accent, and it would echo, and it will stick in my mind forever. Alex. I love it. It was fab.
I loved working with people from all over the world, just, like,
Yeah.
people's accents, people the way they would say things, the way they would pick up different, you know, uh, English or, just different things, like, this one guy who was, Bert, he was from Germany. What a character, this guy, and, my favorite thing that one of my favorite things that ever happened on
Is
the
this the
RPF,
burnt that
he
we
was
may
trying to
both know?
is
Burnt.
it Bert Model?
Yes!
You know Burt Model? Oh my god.
I know
So
burnt
we'll
very
we'll have to
well.
share Burt Model stories. But Burt was trying to reassure his twin, during, like, a very, like his twin was very upset during, the session, just like, "Oh, just not doing good, just bleh," right? And just in a heated moment, and so Burt, very German, he's so German, just so, so German. So Burt was trying to say to his twin, "Don't worry, I've got an ace up my sleeve." Which, of course, that's like ultimate move in America. You got an
Yeah.
ace up your sleeve. So he looks him dead in the eye. He says, "Don't worry, I've got my sleeve up my ass." Like, so confident, like, and so his twin, who was like, this just goes like, "Yes,
That's
my sleeve is
hilarious.
up my ass. We're going to be fine."
I can imagine Burnt saying that as well. You know, Burnt, again, it's another rabbit hole. We should talk about this another time, but Burnt
It
tried to
just,
recover
like,
me.
loses it, and then Bert's like, "This is not funny. I'm going to save it." Like, starts laughing, and his twin's just
Oh,
laughing and laughing. The session, of course, is over because he couldn't stop laughing.
yeah.
And I was just like, and Bert was like, "What? I don't understand." Like, lost total control. They had to go to the examiner and the whole thing. And then he gets like a cram, because he fucked it up. And then he was like, "Oh, ace up my sleeve." Okay. He's like drilling it, ace up my sleeve.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, we should talk about
I've
Burnt
got my
another
sleeve
time.
up my
He
ass.
he tried to recover me, and he actually helped me get back on staff after I got kicked out the
Bert?
first time. I know Burnt very well. Let's talk about it off stream. Let's
Bert
let's
model.
crack on. Studio, do public Scientologists know John Travolta isn't straight? I would probably say
We're not
no.
allowed to talk about Bruno. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah. You don't say
Boys,
anything negative about celebrities. Let's put it that
no,
way.
that's like
No.
basically a suppressive act. Boys in the Trees, she is truly honest and just herself always. I love the humor she brings to such a hard subject. That's what I love about you as well, Nora, is you
Thank
always
you.
make us smile, even though it's a tough topic sometimes. Okay, last two. Tassie Devil, can't wait for the long form Nora, the director's cut from Alex, all the Nora footage didn't make a compilation.
It's
That
there.
is available. You can go and watch it on my channel. So go
Please
and
check
check
it.
that out. Yeah, absolutely. And then one love question: what prompted you to create this awesome documentary? Was it a particular
That's for
incident or
you.
conversation, or a culmination of things? Yeah. A culmination of things. I mean, I was inspired to start talking about this topic, and I had a friend who was pretty upset by what was going on in Florida, anti-trans movement and this sort of thing, and I was like, what can I do to bring more light and attention to this? And I thought, well, that maybe a starting place is using my YouTube channel as a platform to do that. So I thought, let's do a documentary on Scientology's anti-gay rhetoric, because people don't connect the dots. They don't realize it's an anti-gay, it's a hate group, right? And that's what I wanted to do. And someone actually asked, how long did it take you to make a documentary? Fucking a lifetime. I started this project maybe 3 months ago, so hundreds of hours. So I hope it came across okay. But
No, I know. I remember when we did the interview a while ago, I was like, "Oh, I guess Alex is doing something else." Like, I didn't realize it was turning into like this whole thing. But I mean, it's amazing. It's truly
thanks.
amazing what you put out. I'm really, really I'm really blown away with how
Thank you.
everything turned out, and I'm so grateful that it's out there and just to be a part of it. It's just, it's really fantastic. So,
Thank you. And thank you for
yeah.
sharing your story and being honest. And, I think it's hard to talk about these things sometimes, but it needs to be done to really hit home. And a lot of people have said that they got emotional at the end of the video. And I don't like
Oh,
making
yeah.
people cry. I really don't want to do that. But it's almost a
There's
good
no
thing
way to
because
not
it's
to. I
like
mean,
it
hate
it
just
means it's
stares
hit
into your
home.
soul,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
if yeah, I don't want to make people cry, but at least it means that it's had an effect on you, and maybe hopefully that will
Mhm.
inspire you to maybe not just sit there and go, "Oh, that was a great documentary. Scientology's anti-gay. All right, now I'm going to watch a video about how to make pasta or something." Hopefully it makes people think I've got to do something about it. And
Yeah. Yeah, and then I just, I said this over on the live I did with Aaron, but I'm gonna repeat it here just real quickly because you listed a great
go
list
for
of
it.
names, but, because of the SAG-AFTRA, and writer strike that's going on, the current people that I'm kind of, particularly charging, we always talk about the big names, John Travolta, Tom Cruise, Michael Pena, I mentioned Catherine Bell and things like that. But the people that really need to get their shit together are the second gens that are sitting there because they know more than the people who walked into Scientology willingly. Because they were born into it. So they've seen it from all sides, like I did growing up in it, experiencing it through different parts of their life, and now benefiting from doing it, and then they're still donating to it despite what they know. Okay, we have the whole other parts of the Masterson clan, obviously Jordan, Alana, and Chris. Um, okay, just to name those three. But in order of ranking, like most known, Elizabeth Moss. Okay, Handmaid's Tale, all of the great stuff she's doing on Apple. She just put out a Vanity Fair article, I want to say like 6 months ago, where she tripled down on her commitment to Scientology. She needs to really get it together here. On what she's doing. Eric Christensen, who you may remember from the show Parenthood, tons of Emmy Awards, other things. She needs to definitely, get it together. She's in some stuff now. She in all of this, and I said the disclaimer before, it's not a commentary on their acting or anything else. Okay. Most of these people I think are fantastic actors, and they have a great body of work, and they really, really, really need to um, get it together and start confronting, as Scientology would like to say, what they are supporting and what they are a part of, and really think about that
Yeah.
and really put their money where their mouth is. Because as I pointed out before, people from that '70s show are going to lose those sweet, sweet residuals that people like to retire on. And their former castmates may want to think about their association with somebody who is also connected to Danny Masterson. All these people are connected to Danny Masterson, by the way,
Yeah.
very intimately. And anybody who's connected to him right now is like kryptonite. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Skrillex, musician
so
Skrillex. A lot of people don't realize
Oh,
he's a
Skrillex.
Scientologist.
Skrillex is on there. He grew up in Scientology. He grew up in Scientology schools.
Hmm.
So he knows from an intimate, perspective what that's like. He definitely knows better. Riley Keough, and she's suffered tragic losses in the last year and a half of her mother passing and her brother as well. So I don't begrudge her the emotional toll that Scientology has taken from her in her personal life. But despite that, she still knows what she knows and she needs to get out there. Um, uh, the entire Ribisi clan, Marissa, Vonnie, and their baby sister Gina, um, you know, Juliette Lewis, who's on the, everything awarded Yellow Jackets, absolutely needs to get out there. Beck, um, who claims he, never really did Scientology. He was out. He was married to Marissa for a number of years. Absolutely not true. He's a second gen, and he needs to own that, and he needs to come clean, and he needs to start speaking out on everything that he knows. Um, and Jason Doring, who is on Veronica Mars with Kristen Bell. I'm very surprised that Dax Shepard has never said anything. I don't know how he didn't get recruited into Scientology to get off drugs. After being with Kristen Bell and stuff, that's a whole thing. Patrick Renna, who of course is just trying to ride his Sandlot years into fame now, coming back on social medias via that. Lindsay Bartleson, who is on Grounded for Life. And as I mentioned before, everybody wants to know how all these new, actors and actresses keep getting sucked into Scientology. It's because Lindsay Bartleson and Patrick Renna and a couple other relatively unknown Scientology actresses and actors opened the Hollywood Mission a few years ago, and they are the ones that are sucking in all these new actors and actresses via the like party scene where the Masterson clan and all these other, people hang out with the Hollywood cool kids and pull them into Scientology through the mission, which just delivers the basics and the fun stuff and whatever, and then scoot them on over to Celebrity Center where they get love bombed in the president's office, and then away they go on their
Yeah.
journey into, superstardom.
And it's so
So,
hypocritical, the creative arts is so full of
mhm,
LGBTQIA plus people, and these people are working all day, every day with actors and
mhm,
musicians, people who identify as gay, and every other part of the
mhm.
rainbow, and yet
Everybody who
secretly,
does their hair,
yeah.
everybody who does their costuming, all this stuff, and they're gonna pretend like, "I love you. Oh my god, you're fabulous." Everybody who does all the work for them, surrounding them is in the LGBTQIA community. Laura Prepon, as I mentioned many times before, stood on stage and made speeches in front of GLAAD and was like, I'm an ally," while she was a paid professional lesbian for Orange Is the New Black, and then was donating that money to Scientology. It's disgusting.
And Scientology at the same time is selling books at that very moment in every org across the planet that literally says being gay is a sexual perversion, and someone who falls into that category is physically ill. This is
Mm.
the contradiction, right?
Yeah,
It's insane. The
yeah.
Great Daughters of
So,
Dianetics. Hi.
hey,
We love them.
2 of my
And
favorite
that's going to be
ladies.
still. Absolutely. All right, Nora,
Yeah,
thank
so
you
they
so
gotta they
much.
gotta they gotta come clean. That's all. That's
Yeah.
my challenge.
I love it. And I think everyone, if you haven't already, go and check out Nora's channel, go and subscribe to her. Oh no, Nora, she's awesome. Go check out the documentary we did together, and get in touch. I'm always happy to speak to people. You can email me, hello@apostatealex.com. Always happy to give my 2 cents, and help people. The Aftermath Foundation, don't forget, if you need help leaving Scientology, the aftermathfoundation.org, they're there to help. So thank you so much, Nora,
Absolutely.
and thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you very soon. Bye for now.